Yo, this hot, this the spot, there it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and life to stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast to help you find your inspiration. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a special episode today, in that it's with girlfriend of the show, Justina. This is not a pop talk. It's not a comedy shop talk. It's not a Christmas episode. It is a normal guest episode, and we finally got Justina Sparling on. It's been hard. She is busy. She is doing so much. And I threw a Hail Mary pass out there. I contacted her people. I said, please, can she be a guest on the podcast? Can I interview her? And finally, after a lot of negotiating, she said yes. It was great. Very happy that it happened. And we have a fun chat about how she got into comedy. I learned a couple of new things, and you will too. We also talk about her not really doing comedy right now, and not because of the pandemic. It's an interesting conversation because previously in the podcast, there have been guests who talked about how they did it in the past, take a break from comedy because they just needed to. They took a break from improv. Will Hines talked about that. We haven't really had someone on who was going through that moment at the time of my speaking to them. So we delve into that. We delve into the why. And it's an interesting conversation because part of why is stuff that I was involved in. Like, I was sitting next to her while she was experiencing what she was experiencing, and I had a different take back from that. So it's interesting to hear our sides of that part of the discussion. It's a good talk. Well, let's just get right to it. Here's my chat with Justina Sparling. Everyone knows that we are from South Carolina, but I don't think listeners know that you are originally from Texas.
Okay.
You're from Lubbock, Texas. Like the chicks.
I know, but I don't identify with Texas very much. But
You left there at a young age.
Yes, I was 11, and what I took from Texas is I do like cowboys, I like westerns, I like country music.
Did you meet the chicks?
No, but Natalie is from Lubbock.
Aren't they all from Lubbock?
No.
Oh, it was just her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was all of them.
Yeah, the other girls are from Texas, I'm pretty sure, but she's from Lubbock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that something you thought about at all when you were little?
Oh, yeah,
About
great
her
sense
from
of pride. But more important was Buddy Holly was from Lubbock.
I keep forgetting that.
And he went to the elementary school that we went to when we were little girls.
Oh, wow.
And we had his chair, and on Buddy Holly Day, which is the holiday there for real, they would put his little school chair out. It was very sweet.
How do they know it was really his chair?
It was his chair.
Okay.
I don't ask questions. Roscoe Wilson Elementary.
That is really cute, but it's just funny. I can't imagine so many years later that they would be like, this is the chair. We never got rid of it, and it was definitely his chair.
It's definitely his. Buddy Holiday was the best. All the boys would dress up like 50s boys, and all the girls would dress up like 50s girls, and we had poodle skirts.
Oh, that's funny.
It was awesome. Yeah.
I know that when you were young, you were into ballet.
Yes.
Was that something that started in Texas, or did that start later?
No, that started later. That was in South Carolina, and that was just me following my younger sister, actually, because she was doing it, and I was like, well, and I also think my mom was like, we need to, narrow down the hobbies, so I did that as well, across the daughters.
Not just,
yeah.
Instead of you having soccer or whatever,
right.
and her having ballet, and then another having cello.
Yeah, we all did.
You're all going to do.
In Texas, my hobbies, well, I didn't like it at all. It was not by choice, but, an activity I did was violin. And, of course, I wish I had stuck with it. Wouldn't it be so cool to play the violin now? But, man, I hated it. I remember hating it. and piano, and in Texas also, like that's when I first started like acting in church plays and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing I was wondering. I didn't know that. But I was wondering if that started then.
Yeah. I was in a church play, and it was like Sermon on the Mount, but it was about baseball. But it was about Jesus.
So it was like a baseball play.
Yeah.
And then someone is talking to the pitcher on the mound.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember a lot about it. I just remember I was the main character. I really was.
You were the main character?
I was the main character, and it was a boy character, but they cast it as a girl and changed her to a girl because I was that good.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was a girl who was playing with boys? She was that good at baseball that she wasn't playing softball?
I don't remember.
You don't
I just
who else
remember it was baseball and Jesus.
That is, why have you not told me this?
It was crazy. It was like in front of this really big church, and there was like a spotlight on me, and I remember people were like touched by it and stuff. Like, it was amazing.
How have you not told me this?
I had to save it for the podcast.
You saved it for 8 years.
Yeah.
For the podcast that didn't exist until 3 years into the relationship. That's wild. I think that's really cool. Is that where the bug came for performing?
I think so. And I just always wanted attention when I was little and always made people laugh. You know, 4th grade, I was photo class clown. Like, I always had a desire to make people laugh, and I just loved the way it felt hearing people laugh and stuff.
Were you homeschooled in 4th grade?
No. The only homeschool years were 2nd grade, and then middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then 10th, 11th, 12th. But 10th, 11th, 12th was also supplemented
with the going to like a charter school.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you did the play, you had already been. How old were you when you did the play?
9 or 10.
So you were like 5th grade, but 4th grade you were already. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so,
4th grade was a huge year for me, honestly. Yeah.
You had already been trying to make people laugh.
Also, 4th grade was Oregon Trail year for me, you know?
That was the year that I think maybe 3rd grade was when I first played Oregon Trail.
I mean, we played it. That was what we did in computer class. That was what we did.
Yeah, 3rd and 4th grade is when you play that game a lot.
It was great. I would say, despite how great and huge 4th grade was for me, I did not finish the Oregon Trail. I died.
No one does. I don't know. I literally don't know anyone who won at Oregon Trail. Everyone always died of dysentery.
There were some kids getting really upset, you know, as the story goes, about like naming their family members their real names.
Oh, yeah. Or like some friend or person you have a crush on, and then they die, and you're like, what? No.
I know.
No, I wonder if that's why so many people play Red Dead Redemption. But,
what's that called? It's not the same. It's not Oregon Trail. It's not video games. But like, what's it called when you role play?
LARPing?
LARP, live action role play.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the same at all. But I had to.
Did you do that when you were in Texas?
No.
Did you LARP when you?
No.
You mentioned that you like getting attention, and I know from seeing a childhood video.
Oh, yeah. I look at videos of myself, and I am very embarrassed. I was such a bratty kid.
I mean, everyone was. I saw the videos, and you were just like any other kid, but it was hilarious.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
Because it was your baby sister's birthday, and because she was a baby, she couldn't blow out the candles, and someone just said, well, she can't blow out the candles. Someone needs to. And then before they were even done asking, you were like, I'll do it.
Yep.
Happy birthday to you. Okay. Oh, there you go. You first? Okay, let me get some plates. Oh, you take some here, Sophie.
All out of attention, all out of wanting stuff for me. I think I was very spoiled, really, really, really. And then like we were opening presents, same birthday, and I was like opening them for her, and I was like, this is ours. We'll share, and it's her birthday. This is for sharing.
Well, you have grown out of that.
Thank God.
You haven't done that at any of my birthdays. So Texas to Colorado.
Yes, Denver, Colorado, the suburb, I guess, or outside town of Westminster, Colorado. And that was like 11 to 13, 14 years old.
Mm-hmm. I've been there. It's a lovely. I've been to Colorado.
To Denver?
I think maybe it was Colorado Springs. It was Colorado Springs or Denver. It was so long
For
ago
skiing?
now. No. My dad was doing some sort of entrepreneurial thing there, and for whatever reason, even though all the people lived and worked in like North Carolina, for some reason we were going to Colorado, and I was just visiting, and so I had to go, basically.
How old were you?
I was it was either right before my senior year in high school or right before my freshman year in college. And I feel like it was right before senior year in high school.
And you flew there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and venture that it was not Denver. Because if it was Denver, you would have been impressed and you would have definitely remembered the airport. You couldn't have forgotten it.
It was like the 90s. So I don't know.
No, but you could not have forgotten the Denver airport.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's so cool. It's a white tent.
I don't think too much about the airport.
Oh, right. No. Sure. I grant you got it. Me neither. But this is
still would have. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. I feel like I think what it was that we went to one town and then drove up from another to Denver or something. So I think that might also be why, if it was Denver, why I wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
Because we drove from somewhere else, but in Colorado. Nevertheless, this is not important. But I've just been there and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And you were there for a few years. Did you do any?
Yes, that's where I really, really got into acting. Mm-hmm. There was a rec center near us, the Arvada Recreational Center. Mm-hmm. And they put on plays. They put on community theater, Mm-hmm. And I did one.
Did you redo the play, A Sermon on the Mount?
No, I did a play there, and I'm actually just like now remembering that you haven't seen the video, and like you're gonna die when you see the video. Prince of Thumbs.
What?
You haven't seen it? Oh my gosh.
No.
When we watch it, you're gonna lose your mind. I was a snail, and it was like this Prince of Thumbs, and
What's it about?
I can't really put my finger on it, or should I say my thumb. But I was a snail, and I was supportive, and I sang, and I was a very bad singer. I'm not getting down on myself. I just did not have that skill in me. Mm-hmm. And I had like a big solo, and it was just like, it was so bad. But yeah, there's a video of it. And so that was something. And then there was another play we did. It was like a Western. And then shortly thereafter, I don't remember that one as well. I didn't have like as big of a part in that. Like they really messed up on the casting somehow. But shortly thereafter is when we moved to South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Oh, and also as far as like extracurriculars, ice skating was a big part of our lives in Denver.
Yeah. Which, well, I saw you ice skate in Minneapolis recently, but I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
You had talked about wanting to. Well, mm-hmm. I guess I knew that you did because I knew you had ice skates. We just hadn't done it anytime we were together. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, has it been a while? Will she fall? And you were fine when you fell. But you mostly did not fall.
100% you're going to fall if you ice skate.
Yeah.
I think no matter how good you are,
and you had a good fall. It wasn't like you were falling because you were just having a tough time. You were very good.
Thanks.
So.
And now I moved to South Carolina. And yeah.
And there is where you started doing improv.
Yes, I was doing improv at the theater on the west end of Greenville. What's that theater called?
Not Greenville Little Theater, nope. The Center Stage.
Nope. Though I did do a play at Center Stage, and that was a very big acting thing for me, and that was like in ninth grade.
Warehouse.
The Warehouse, yeah.
That's what I meant to say, actually, when I said Center Stage, just because I've seen improv at the Warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
And I've never seen it at Center Stage, because they don't do it at Center Stage.
Chronologically, I did Center Stage first, Hollywood Arms, and that was the Carol Burnett story, and that was really great. And I was young Carol Burnett, and then...
You love Carol Burnett.
Yeah, I know. I know. That was pretty awesome. And then I went to the Governor's School for Acting, which is great. Mm-hmm. And then I just did improv, like, at the Warehouse Theater. They had, like, a teen improv situation, Mm-hmm. and Shakespeare in the Park one year, which was fun. And then in college, I didn't really do any acting at College of Charleston, but I did do improv at Theater 99. And that was pretty awesome. And then I stopped everything right after I graduated college. Everything.
Yeah, for how long? For a few years?
It must have been, well, when I lived in Wyoming right after college, I actually did hook up with the improv troupe out there, but like, it was not fun. They were all so nice, but I remember we did an outdoor improv show and it was like so bad. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to do bad improv anymore. You know, not that I had ever, like, it was just like, I don't love this enough to suffer through a bad improv show, you know? And so I don't think I did improv again until Alchemy when I was 24, you know? So 21 to 24, I didn't do improv.
When did you start doing stuff with like Jason Underwood and Todd?
Oh, I guess that was also
because didn't you do that?
I did that in high school.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I definitely did Laughing Stock. Yeah, just a little bit. I was never like a full cast member back then, but I also got back into Laughing Stock after I moved back from Mexico. So 23, 24.
So when you started doing stuff again with Laughing Stock, was that before Alchemy?
I think yes / concurrent. You know?
Like kind of at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, that's how we then met.
At Alchemy.
And the rest is history.
Episode over.
So what made you want to, I mean, I know you said when it came to doing theater and acting and stuff that you were a big ham in 4th grade and you wanted attention and you like making people laugh, but what made you get into improv specifically?
I think it was just so interesting and new, even though improv wasn't new because this must have been 2006, 2007. But I feel like that was kind of the golden age of improv. I guess I can't say that for certain, but I feel like it was very fun then. Oh, and then also, how could I have not mentioned Whose Line Is It Anyway was a huge part of my childhood. And I remember, you know, mommy limited television. You know, she would say, you have to shut off the television now or like go to bed, blah, blah, blah. If Whose Line was on, we could always watch it. Always. We were always permitted to, encouraged to. She would join us. Also, mommy wouldn't watch television with us a lot, and she would watch that, you know. So
it was good, clean fun.
Good, clean fun. Just like also funny. Funny.
Which ones were you watching? The Drew Carey ones?
And then later in college, and when YouTube was big, I discovered the British show. Yeah.
Which had some of the same players, but just a different host.
Yeah.
But, well, that's cool that you got that.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was like my dream. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You wanted to be on Whose Line?
Yeah, or just like make people laugh like that. Be that funny, you know? Like, and I liked all of them. Colin, Ryan, Wayne. I thought they were all so funny and so talented. And if there was ever an episode where one of them was missing, there was also always those three and a guest, right? And then, but occasionally one of the main three would be missing, and I just remember like being like devastated. But it was always so great.
Yeah, no, that show was great.
I know.
And what can I say?
Yeah, it was just so funny. I haven't experienced that. I feel like where I just laugh at something and enjoy it so much. I feel like that's kind of what you have with SNL.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But there's shows I feel like we laugh a lot. Like we were watching Murderville and laughing like that at that.
Yes, but not like Whose Line. Murderville, I found myself, and this is just me being cynical and being like, you know, I don't know.
You're watching it and you're like, it's no Whose Line.
Well, no, I'm watching it and I'm like, that wasn't the funny thing to say then, you know, you know, Whose Line always beat me.
Oh,
they were always so funny and the funniest that it was possible to be, you know, in my opinion.
I mean, I get that. Maybe, though, it's because you're like a teenager watching Whose Line.
No, I know. That's why I say it like comes from cynicism.
But no, it does, though, because when I was in high school, when I was a teenager, if I ever beat someone to the punchline, I would be like, well, then why would I watch this if I can come up with that punchline? Oh, that's interesting, yeah. Which now I would be like, if some kid came up with a punchline, or like said a punchline before the comic and then the comic says the same thing, I would be like, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, comedy brain.
Right. But, at that time, at some point it switched to if a punchline I had or a joke I had ended up, like if I ended up seeing it on a show, I would be like, oh, maybe I can be that funny. But at
Interesting.
first, I was very much like, they're not funny if I can think of that.
You know what? I think if I think of a joke and then I see it on television or, something in that capacity, I'm like, there's no magic anymore.
I get that. I think most comics feel that way.
Yeah.
Most people who do comedy seem to feel that way.
Yeah.
I think that's why so many don't watch other comedy, because they're just like
Interesting.
bored.
I think that's why people love Rick and Morty so much. It just like always surprises people.
It's also just something insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that people knock on is stuff that is like designed to reach the most people.
Yeah.
It's designed to hit with the most people. So it ends up being something as maybe if people, more comics will see it as low-hanging fruit or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That nothing has made you laugh that hard. Not even me.
Oh, man. Oh, brother.
I don't think I'm as funny as Whose Line. I don't
If you are, none are. No one is. Conan tickles
Conan's
me.
pretty high praise. Yeah, Conan's pretty hilarious. I think there is something, with a lot of comedy now, it either has to be like off the rails insane, like Rick and Morty, or it is hard to sort of surprise people.
I just feel like nowadays the comedy's all about being smart and clever.
Mm-hmm.
And the response you're looking for is clapter.
Yeah, there's a
coined
lot
that?
of that. Yeah,
Was that Seth Meyers?
that might have been
coined-
Seth Meyers. Yeah.
And so like the like bending over, doubling over in laughter is like not sought after anymore. Maybe it's because like nobody can make anybody do it anymore. So like, okay, we gotta go for something else.
And there's also so much.
Yes, there's a lot to
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not sure if this is the reason, but if you go back 25 years, you go from there being like 3 or 4 shows that comics are writing on that are like late night type shows
Yeah.
or a sketch show to a few more than that. And now it's like a bajillion.
A bajillion. We were like flipping through Peacock the other day to watch Seth Meyers. And so you went to the talk show area.
Thinking it would just show 3.
And there were so many.
Yeah.
And they're probably not all like comedy based, but they all definitely have comedy
Mm-hmm.
in them because that's just what talk shows are like,
Mm-hmm.
There were so
So many.
I was overwhelmed. And it makes me think like, I don't know. It makes me think nothing.
Well, what it makes me think, in the early 90s, if you wanted to write for a late night show or something in that style, you had Leno, Letterman. Let's say this is 93 when Leno and Letterman had taken their spots on NBC and CBS. Arsenio was on the way out. Chevy Chase was briefly there. Dennis Miller was briefly had a show, and then you had SNL and Conan. Like, those were the only shows. There's no Daily Show, no John Oliver and Samantha Bee. All this stuff doesn't exist. Not a lot of shows. And now you have so many. And so I think the best talent is getting spread over however many shows there are. There's so many. And so I think that the best shows work, but then there are a lot of shows where it's like they're just kind of painting by numbers like everyone else.
Yeah.
And those shows maybe don't last super long, but I don't know. There is a bit of a drag about the format of comedy writing, and it's in a lot of shows.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that for myself. I feel like it's the end of comedy, but who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, so right now you're taking a little break.
Yes.
And so just to catch people up, if they don't know, there's Alchemy. You and I were at Alchemy for years, and then we moved to New York.
Yeah.
And we're doing stuff at Magnet.
Yeah.
And you were on a house team there. You've been on a couple of house teams there. And now, those house teams have been retired. And you're on a once a month team. It's a great, it's one I talk about all the time. You're not alone. But other than that, you're like pumping the brakes. You're not doing the
Yeah.
weekly thing anymore.
No, and I don't have any desire to. I don't know. It's kind of, I think it was a long time coming. I think moving to New York and doing comedy up here really, really changed my perspective on comedy and showed me, or I learned about myself by doing it up here, that I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it at all?
There's a lesson that I took from all of my time up here and doing comedy up here. And I'm not saying this is what was being taught. I'm saying this is what I learned and I took from all the different comedy that I've done up here, which includes, different theaters, different groups of people, different teachers, different shows I've been to that we've paid money to see, like not even just improv, just comedy shows, is that being funny is not as important as being correct. And being correct is very hard to define. And if you are not correct and you mess up and you're learning and growing, forgiveness will be very hard to come by. And I just always imagined that doing comedy would be about being funny. And it hasn't been like that up here for me.
That's interesting because I feel like there's so many people we've seen who've been funny and we both enjoyed the shows.
Yeah. No, agreed 100%. I cannot deny that at all. We've seen some really, really funny shows up here. Like, I remember walking out of a theater and, like, any number of theaters, including, but not limited to, the Magnet, and, like, just you and me talking about the show the whole way to the train because we were just, like, laughing so hard about all the things that were said. Of course. But I feel like that was the exception, not the rule.
I mean, we've seen hundreds of shows, so it's hard to say. I mean, and also maybe I'm only thinking about the times it was fun.
No, that's right. That's what I'm saying. It's like Thoreau said, it's not what you look at, it's what you see. And so, like, you and I went to all the same shows together. Not all the same shows, but, like, a lot.
A bunch of them.
We both looked at the exact same thing. We might have seen different things, or heard different things.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we're in a weird space with comedy. It's a long time coming because I feel like people sort of learned some of the wrong lessons from even stuff like Daily Show, where it's for so long people were saying, like, comedy is to speak truth to power, and then people were like, says who? But that became the reigning voice, and that's like a 10 years running sort of attitude.
Yeah.
And I think that's gotten ingrained in a lot of people, and the pendulum might be swinging back the other way because I've just seen a lot of people sort of make fun of that today.
Yeah.
There was something Whitney Cummings was saying that was along those lines of, like, comedy is supposed to shine a light on the dark or, like, push people through their fear to the brink or blah, blah. She was saying all this kind of stuff. And then Mark Maron responded, also, you might want to put in there, be funny.
Yeah.
Because she didn't mention that part at all.
Yeah.
And it was just, I do think it goes back to the clapter thing. I think there are a lot of people who want clapter. I don't, when we see, like, Armando Diaz, I haven't witnessed that sort of thing, but there are plenty of other shows of any variety.
Yeah.
Where it does seem like, let's stay in this pocket so we don't get anything wrong. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yes.
But there is a, like, let's not get anything wrong attitude that is happening in comedy now, and hopefully it's swinging the other way to where people can just be more open.
Just goofy, just silly and goofy and funny and happy and like, you can be a bad person on stage and we can all know that you're acting and it's just
right,
you're
that
funny,
that you're not being for real. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a thing. That's a real thing that I have experienced where I played like a mean person on stage and then,
someone took it the wrong way.
Yes.
Wow.
It's like acting.
Or, I mean, and we won't give names, but someone was sharing with us somebody who said, like, this person is a sexist, and it's like they were going by an improv scene.
Yeah.
They saw them in, and it's like, That was an improv scene.
Right.
Do you understand?
Also, are there not allowed to be bad characters in improv stories anymore?
I think there's been so much talk about being careful, and I understand being careful, but there's been so much focus on being careful that it's made people feel like anything that maybe is jarring from a character, like if a person's playing a mean character, and so if it's jarring, then it's not careful. And if it's not careful, then they were doing wrong. Of course, that's not true, but I feel like some people have twisted the understanding of what it is. Like when people are talking about being careful, what they were meaning is, hey, maybe don't force someone to do something they're not comfortable with on stage.
Yeah.
Or don't make rape jokes. But like otherwise, people can do stuff where it's like, yeah, maybe because of your personal experience that reminded you of something that was difficult to deal with. But that's not the same as being racist or sexist. So like, why are you putting it on the same pedestal?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people put it on the same pedestal and aren't getting called out for it. I think it's weird.
I think it's because it's the cool thing to do. You know what? It reminds me of one time when I was living in Wyoming. I hiked a lot. And I hiked a lot by myself also, not just with friends. And I was going on like a 20-mile hike one day. It was really awesome. And I was on the path. And I remember like there were like twigs and rocks on the path. And I had never done this before, but I was like, oh, I should move these twigs and rocks because like the next person might not see them like I'm seeing them and they might trip on them. And I did that for maybe a mile. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing. I am not enjoying my hike right now, thinking of all the people I'm trying to take care of.
You were
And
more
then-
tidying up than hiking.
Well, yeah. And I was like doing it out of concern in quotation marks for other people. But guess what?
Other people are adults.
Other people are adults, and other people, they should know that they take on an inherent risk in going on a hike, and part of that risk involves looking in front of you where you're walking. You know what I mean? And so, as I was like trying to take care of people, I was ruining it for myself, and I was infantilizing them. You know?
Yeah, it's one thing if it was a branch.
Right.
But a twig, or something small.
Even a branch. Sometimes there's a big old branch in the middle of the hiking. That's part of the hike. You climb over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in hiking, maybe that's not the best example. I just mean like what you were doing was not within reason.
Exactly. And then and so nowadays I don't feel like I feel like what I'm watching and when I'm on stage for improv, it's all like being very careful. Let's all be very, very careful. Make sure we're not saying the wrong thing, and we're all very careful. And if somebody says something that might be
I've definitely done that, yeah.
And so like to me, it's just not fun. It's just kind of sad because I do think it infantilizes an audience. I have been in the audience and I've been on stage in both situations, and in the same situation, that is, where we're just trying to be careful. And I don't like the feeling as an audience member because I feel like I'm missing out on something. I'm like, get to it. We get to the comedy. Let's, but we can't even get there because we have to be very, 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 very careful about the words we're using.
Yeah.
So, which is sad to me because I think comedy can be awesome. I think it can really, not to Whitney Cummings it, but like, it does challenge people. It does.
Sure.
It does, like.
I mean,
I don't know.
You've seen me watching Seth Meyers and John Oliver, and I think, especially in John Oliver's case, because he's delving into something so much for so long, I think that is the sort of thing that challenges people. But you also love Conan, who's not trying to challenge people, but he is just like being silly and having fun.
Yes.
And there's like an abandon to that's really freeing and fresh.
And he often plays jerks or a version of a jerk.
See, I have that's me. See, that's my break. I have my own break. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, you just let that guy pass you. And so now it's like you're his bitch. You've got to be like, no, I'm not your bitch, you're my bitch. And then you accelerate and cut him off. Go faster. Pass him.
I'm trying.
Yo.
You're my bitch.
Close. And you whispered it. Lower your window so the next time you pass someone, they can hear you when you say you're my bitch, okay?
Okay. You're my bitch.
Oh, those people. That was sad.
We did it.
It was an older Asian couple that you yelled. Did you feel bad doing that? They just passed you. You just got schooled by a Sienna minivan.
Like I've seen him on several of his remote bits, and he's like flirting with a woman like a total douchebag.
Drank a lot of NyQuil and woke up with my pants around my ankles and an allergy.
Did you feel better?
I felt better. Sort of the guy I was with.
Like, was it nausea, diarrhea?
You really want me to talk about diarrhea
really
on television? I like the word diarrhea.
I do too.
I think you like the word diarrhea too?
Yeah, I like to talk about it.
You like to talk about diarrhea?
I do.
You're an amazing woman. I think I'm in great shape. I think I'm an amazing male specimen. Does anyone ever say that anymore?
I think so. Maybe in jest.
If this somehow could all end with you saying, well, you're an amazing male specimen, and I
Yeah.
had that on camera, that would be great.
Feeling for swollen lymph nodes, glands, anything tender?
Not yet.
Really fantastic. I think maybe
Camera, please.
male specimen.
You think maybe I'm a male specimen? No. If you say I think you're a male specimen, it means my gender is a little in question.
Conan O'Brien is a fantastic male specimen.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah.
If a guy were doing that for real, yeah, it'd be really creepy, but it's comedy and it's funny.
Mm-hmm. Also, like when that documentary Conan O'Brien Can't Stop came out, I remember a couple of people. It wasn't a ton. It wasn't the main attitude that people took, but there were a couple of people who said, "Oh, I don't like the way he treats his writers." And you look at the clips of him with his writers. If you hadn't seen the movie and you heard someone say, "Oh, I don't like how he treats his writers,"
Doesn't sound great.
right, you would think he was like barking at them or saying
right.
like, "This needs to be better." And then you watch it and he's teasing them.
Yeah.
The way people
Look at that fish. I think that's butter sauce. I just need just a simple piece of grilled fish. I'm sorry to have to let you go over this.
Oh, really not want to lose my job?
That's what people who lose their jobs say.
We have another one coming.
Yeah.
I just sent the other one.
Did you get me a
I'm
new
trying to just
assistant?
keep my
Do you mean a
job.
new assistant coming?
It's cool. This happens
Sorry.
often.
I'm trying to like keep it lean, and she keeps going out and getting me fish that lived in butter. Guys, there's a problem here. When I say the self-pleasuring panda, he never seems to know to go. Blake, can you not hear me when I say the self-pleasuring panda? What's that? Oh, fuck you. From now on, I'm not even kidding about this. When you want to speak, you have to talk into the banana telephone.
I'm not going to talk into a banana.
You have to.
This is really demeaning.
Yes,
This is
yes.
really
I don't know why.
You're asking me to talk into a banana.
Is everyone like on the road again? I was just throwing it out there, you know.
Well, guess what I'm doing? Throwing it back. You're a guy that works in the Louvre. You saw the Mona Lisa and you tossed it out the window. Luckily, I came by, saw it, and brought it back.
So I'm sort of like, I think there are some people who have some sort of blindness to what teasing is, and they only see it as bullying.
Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite of bullying. Teasing is to bring someone in, not to push them away. A bully is trying to just take control and push them away or whatever, and doesn't care. They'll discard them. But someone teasing, they're trying to have fun with you.
I feel like, speaking of blindness, I feel like people have blindness to caricaturing. And they're like, I don't see a caricature. I see someone being sexist, being racist, being a cruel orphanage madame, you know? Like, it's just a caricature. We're all having fun, right?
Well, satire, I mean, kind of has to embody that stuff. And I
Yeah.
feel like, I don't know. I don't like the policing thing that goes on now. And sometimes I may even agree with the person's point of view or perspective, but I don't like the policing that they are doing. And then some people, when someone is calling out someone for something genuinely horrendous, then people will sort of talk about the policing in those sort of situations. It's like, come on, like they're not making a mountain out of a molehill. They're calling a mountain here. So I think it's a really complicated discussion now, more complicated than it should be or needs to be, But ultimately, it sounds like for you, comedy is just supposed to be free and fun. And I mean, I've seen your comedy. You're not trying to be mean or take pot shots at people. You're like Conan in your comedy, like your brand of humor.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, ever.
Well.
That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
Well.
I don't believe you.
See? That's just you being cynical.
Mm-hmm.
But for real, I remember when Colbert was on Colbert Report and Jon Stewart was on The Daily Show. It seemed like there was an almost pressure for Conan to be that kind of way, because there were some people who would start asking him, why doesn't he do that? And he was sort of like, I don't know that comedy should be for making serious points. I don't know. Like, he was just sort of like, I goof around. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And like, that seems like he doesn't deny that the importance, because he's like friends with those dudes.
Right.
So he liked and appreciated their comedy, but he is a goofball. And you are a goofball. And it's wonderful.
That's really nice. Thank you so much. I feel like there's not really room for goofballs right now.
No.
I see goofballs on TikTok, and
They're
it
on
gives
TikTok.
me great pleasure.
Right. But like, look at how people respond to Jimmy Fallon, who is also like, he's just a song and dance entertainer and goofball. He doesn't have the irreverence that Conan has, but that is his style of humor.
Well, he doesn't have the reverence that like Conan and I have. You can say the both of us.
That's true. That's true. But he gets dinged a lot because he's not doing what Colbert or all like what everyone else is doing. And there are people literally. I saw some comic literally say, if you are not, I can't remember the exact phrase, but they were like, if you were not, it was in response to Trump basically, and they were saying, if you are not using your comedy to make a political point, then maybe you shouldn't be on network television right now. And it's like, are you fucking insane? That is the
insane.
only kind of comedy that can exist.
Do you hear yourself,
That is
when
so
you say
elitist. That is so, and it's also...
And censorship, and just, I know what is the most important for everyone.
Everybody. Right.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane.
What about the people, the social workers who work hard all day and just
want
to unwind at the end? Nope,
Right.
Not allowed. You have to watch comedy with a point.
Right. And also that person very much meant their point of view.
Yeah.
It couldn't be someone else's point of view.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It couldn't be, heaven forbid, someone with a different point of view. And that's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are all these comics who have different points of view. And because it's not the one that we've been beating the drum on for a long time, then it's not worded exactly the same, then it's, well, no, not that either. There's a lot of that weirdness in comedy in general. And I think that's part of the reason I really love Murderville.
As we're talking more about this, I'm thinking more about this, and this is honestly something I try not to think about that often because it makes me sad, because I used to love comedy so much. But I think the main thing that is really great about comedy is that it helps you maintain perspective, because everybody takes things so seriously. And if we take a step back and make fun of it, we can remember it's not that serious. And I'm not talking about rape. I'm talking about things that people take too seriously, like work. And then you can step back and do a funny improv scene about a weird boss and, the mundane day-to-day, and be like, oh, it's not that serious, Yeah. And I feel like by being obligated, whether said or unsaid, but that feeling of obligation of having to do comedy that matters, or art that matters, or art that's right, or comedy that's right, you're not going to be able to.
I just kind of feel like if you want to do it, then you can do it. And if someone doesn't, then they don't,
Yeah.
Because, when George Carlin was alive, the last 10 years of his life, he was still being, serious George Carlin making jokes.
So this next piece of material is fairly simple. It's just a list of people who ought to be killed. Starting with these people who read self-help books. And the part I really don't understand, if you're looking for self-help, why would you read a book written by somebody else? That's not self-help. That's help. There's no such thing as self-help. If you did it yourself, you didn't need help. You did it yourself.
But also stuff like Conan existed and SNL and Whose Line Is It Anyway? You know, like all these different things. I just feel like people didn't take themselves quite so seriously as people are right now. But I agree with you that, like, why can't we just have some silly little fun?
Yeah. Maybe that's why I can't do improv, is because it's like a team and you have to.
But your team wasn't like Butter, Butter, Butter. Number one was named Butter, Butter, Butter.
No, I know. Yeah, it was
and like
so
you
funny.
all were all just being silly and fun.
Yeah.
And that's why you all worked together. No one was like up there trying to dethrone Trump.
Right.
Like, it was a fun time. Like you've
you're
had
right.
those experiences, and then also like our like Sean Cantatore's show and stuff. Like those shows were
So
just
funny.
delightful. You know, like just
Literally so
super
funny.
fun, but also like what we're talking about. We want to see more of.
Yes.
I think the thing is that is not out there in as big of a way.
Yeah.
As the silly stuff. But, you know, like Ben Schwartz is still out there doing his thing. And he's not doing the thing we're complaining about.
No.
So I think we have a lot of options to, like, enjoy. While there is maybe there are too many options of the serious. There are plenty of options, I think, out there of the fun, silly, let's just have a good time type stuff. But I was just actually thinking yesterday, like, I know a lot of people make fun of Paul Blart Mall Cop, but like there are people who also love it. So like I've never seen them because it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say those people shouldn't get to watch it.
Right.
And obviously it's resonating with a lot of people.
Yeah, it was successful.
Right. And it also wasn't like hurtful. It wasn't like people being mean. So I kind of don't like when people dog something like Paul Blart. It's super elitist to dog Paul Blart, and then only act like the only thing coming out there is like this super important stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's all out there. Some has a little bit more cachet. I just feel like there are a bunch of different things out there that we all can enjoy, and I don't like how serious some people are making certain things.
Yeah. Also, I think I have the awareness, to realize that I probably sound extremely cynical, and I'm sorry. It's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
But knowing myself, I know I won't always feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
I just,
Well, that's not only like knowing yourself, but people. They go through different phases. They go like things ebb and flow. And it's like what you're thinking right now, but then like in a couple months you might have a completely different attitude.
Yeah.
And an attitude that you keep for years. Like who knows? I was also thinking a lot of comedy, part of the reason why it doesn't have a great shelf life is because it's very much in response to something at that time.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be outside of that time or never having lived through that and understand it. And so sometimes when we look back at old comedy and are like, this isn't funny. And it's like, well, it's because they were responding to something that was very common at the time that isn't now.
Right.
And so some of our feeling right now is like us responding to something that's really out there right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And also like, it's been a long time since we've been weekly doing shows.
Yeah, I know.
Seeing shows. It's been a way long time since we've seen
I know. And it's
shows.
interesting, like the things that we remember, like you remember all the good experiences. I do remember the good experiences too, but I think like the bad experiences stick with me more. I don't know why.
I think it's like common for humans in general.
Then why do you have the good experiences stick out to you?
I don't know.
Superhuman? Okay.
No, I just mean, I think sometimes some of the fun stuff doesn't stick. But people do have a tendency to pick up on the negative. I think I heard something about how that's almost like evolutionary because something back when we were just living off the land and very tribal and didn't even have real language to speak, if something bad was happening, we had to pay attention to that because it was life or death. So now we get super triggered if something bad is happening, and it's just sticking with us longer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But
That's interesting.
yeah, and anything that feels like that's the thing about comedy. Everyone's like, right now is a lot about like safe space, and so now if something, even if it's not something that would make you feel unsafe for you, you can easily go like, oh, someone might get upset about that.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And so that becomes like danger.
And because I feel like the rules are ambiguous sometimes, like, don't be racist. That's pretty clear. But, you know.
No rape jokes. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. But then you might say something, I don't know, and not even know that it's a bad thing to say, and then you're in trouble, you know?
Oh, yeah,
it's not like
for
you're
sure.
going to, I don't feel like you're going to learn the lesson easily. I don't think the lesson teaching comes from love. I don't think it comes from love or caring.
Yeah, I think it's maybe, I would say it like, it maybe comes from love or caring for who they feel is a subjugated group, but it definitely doesn't come from an empathetic or like forgiving perspective for the person who's doing it. And also, everyone has done that. Everyone has said something that would offend someone.
Yes.
There are like so many people who've been caught with that, where they're like pointing and yelling at somebody else and saying like, oh, they said this thing that's so offensive in their joke or in their tweet. And then someone goes back in that person's tweet and is like, well, you said this thing about this other group of people. And then it's suddenly like, be forgiving. I'm not perfect. And it's like, well, why don't you use that logic when you start to point and yell at other people? And I don't know how that, it's like everyone is forgetting that. Oh, we're all in the same boat here. Can we just acknowledge, like, again, this isn't the defense of indefensible things. This is I'm talking about the average everyday stuff. But it's super hard to talk about publicly.
I know.
Because people will attach something that you're not talking about to what you're saying.
Yes.
And it's like, well, this is what you're talking about. That's what makes comedy difficult, because people attach things you're not talking about to you.
Also that, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then people are being careful because they don't want something to be attached to them.
So better to say less.
It's all very neutral.
Yes.
It's all very neutral, and it's like, I don't want that. Because comedy inherently there's something that's sort of like, and I go back to like Conan at the Emmys, just being like free and wild and silly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like no abandon. You know, like that to me is what comedy is someone who's just like letting it go. I mean, that's the thing that I miss.
Yeah, me too.
Like, who is today's Robin Williams or Bill Murray?
I know. Yeah.
We don't really have those easily.
Yeah.
Or Jim Carrey. And of course, someone will point out something wrong that one of them said one time. You know, like something that was insensitive, wasn't viewed as insensitive at the time, but it is now. And so then they say like, well, he said, you okay with this joke? And it's like, well, I love your comedy. I love seeing you perform. I hope you don't do a moratorium on it forever. But I understand why you're not doing it right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Because I think it's so important to be creative. And I think it is so, I don't know. And so I don't know how to be creative anymore because I don't want to do improv. I just don't want to do improv. I don't know. And it's and like for reasons that are fully me, nobody else. Like I am just like, I feel like I'm improv'd out. I've done improv for so many years
and seen so much. It's easy to get improv'd out.
And so
people gotta take breaks.
Yeah, but now I don't have a creative outlet at the moment. But I'm hoping that just by pausing, like I've looked at classes, like language classes and like random classes. And I'm like, oh, should I spend like hundreds of dollars right now to do this class? And I'm just like trying to like pause. And just like think about it or not think about it. Just like be still. And I don't know, we'll see what happens. But
well, I don't think you're the only person in that boat because I feel like a lot of people are taking a step back from improv.
Yeah.
And comedy in general.
Yeah. It's weird to be up in New York and not be doing comedy. It's like, why am I here? You know?
Yeah.
What's the reason? But
think there's other stuff that we can still enjoy up here, though.
Yes.
That you can, like, I mean, as far as doing something, I know comedy was the big draw. But when it comes to, like, seeing exciting and interesting things,
Definitely.
like, there's plenty of that here.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that's a reason.
That is a reason.
Maybe also I'm here.
Oh my God. Well, I know I could go anywhere and you'd follow me, even if you were grumpy about it.
Baby. Well, we're at the end of the episode. It's time to create something together. And I say, do you want to create something that's just free and fun and silly, or try to, like, figure out a headspace to get into being free, fun, and silly?
Oh, interesting. Do you have an idea for the free, funny, silly thing?
No. I don't know what we would do.
Got it.
Because, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like I observe how people are doing things a lot. And I'm trying to think of, like, well, how could somebody, like, where are people being free, fun, and silly? And it's like TikTok. But I don't really love TikTok trends.
Right. But some of my favorite creators are not involved in trends at all. They're just...
Party Hardison.
Yeah, they're just being funny.
Yeah.
Like, what's the girl from Hacks that we love so much?
Oh, Megan Statler?
I don't know.
Statler?
I truly don't know.
Yeah,
You could name
yeah,
her and
yeah.
I wouldn't know her name. But she's so funny.
So funny.
She's not doing any kind of trend. She's just, like, putting a camera on herself while she says the craziest thing.
So why would someone do a talk show? Everyone's done it. Ever heard of comedy thing? Okay, so this is just a show where I'm saying hello, and then I'm kind of doing my personality that I do, so that in case anyone wants to hire me for Netflix special. And also, I would like to say that I have a very charismatic personality, so I can also do plays live. Did you say that, I do you agree that I could be in a play?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'm a really fun, uplifting kind of sort of personality.
They're so funny.
It's just good character work. Yeah. She's wild. She's so funny.
Yeah.
She is somebody else who's like that, who is just, like, going for it. You know, and
she's
with no
so
abandon.
Exactly. So funny. You know, and also I think it can't be understated that, like, you need to be around people that you feel, and I hate to use this word because I don't like the way it's used a lot of the time, but where it feels safe to be yourself, you know? Maybe we can do the headspace thing, or think about, like, other creative.
What we would like to see that's not out there anymore?
That isn't what I was getting at.
Oh.
But I was going to say other creative, not methods, not venues, creative outputs,
Oh, okay. Other creative outputs outside of comedy?
Yes, but what's the word?
Creative output is something I've heard.
Expressions, output. Endeavors. Oh, man.
Creative outlet is what I always heard.
All right.
So that's what you want to do? Like, what's another creative outlet?
Oh, well, yeah.
Is it like being the creator or taking in other work?
Being the creator. Let's start a business. This is what I want to do. I just want to start a business.
Okay.
And the business is that it's a service, not a product, it's a service. And the service is that it's flower delivery. Okay. And you deliver the flowers to somebody pays you to do this, you go to the indicated person's house, and like a guy would do this for his wife, you know? And I show up with the flowers and I'm like, these are for you.
These are for you.
And then she's like, oh, thank you. Who are these from? And then I say, as the flower delivery person, I've already said too much. I really must be going, but first, may I sing you a song? And the woman's like, I really have to get back to work. And then I say, it's a quick song.
Uh-huh.
It's a song my mother used to sing to me when I was little. May I sing this to you very quickly? And the woman's like, yeah. Okay. And then I sing a song and I make it up on the spot. That's where the improv comes in. And it's just an improvised song, but it's like really beautiful and sad, and it makes the woman cry. And right at that moment, the husband who ordered the flowers for the woman shows up, and he's like, what's going on? Why is my wife crying? And the woman's like, she just, but she can't say it because she's so choked up. And so I'm like, well, I made her cry. And before I can say, by singing this song, my mom used to sing me when I was little, he punches me in the face.
What?
Yes, because he's defending his wife. And I'm like, oh. And then I run off. Meanwhile, his wife
He's a hero.
He's a hero. He's such a huge aphrodisiac for her. And then they go in and they do it. Happy Valentine's Day. And it's such a successful business. It's such a successful business. Yeah. And eventually, it's so successful that I can pay for as many facial reconstructive surgeries as I need, which I will need a lot because I keep getting hit in the face.
All right, well, a couple of problems.
Okay, I don't really understand how there could be a problem, but I'll hear you out.
Number one, you'd have to always have this song. A song that would make every person cry if they heard it.
But that's why people pay me the big.
that?
That's why people pay me the big bucks, is because like I can look at somebody and just by a quick look at them be like, okay, I know like what kind of like E minor, A minor like would make them cry.
Oh wow!
Like, yeah.
I mean, that's a tall order.
Yes, it is, and that's why I get paid so much to do this.
Okay, and then I don't know how many wives would be like, you punch that woman, I'm very turned on.
Right. So let me unpack that. Basically,
would you dress up as a man?
I have a target audience, and my target audience is
terrible
women.
people.
Yeah, it's just basically really bad people, and women who are specifically turned on by men hitting flower delivery people.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's wild.
You'd have to.
They're out there.
I don't know if it's so much that it would be that lucrative.
Oh, it would because I charge like so much per delivery.
Okay.
Yeah. It's wild.
What would you call this place?
Let's see. Flower power, aphrodisiac, sad songs, wife's hot, punch you in the face, a bunch of punches.
Bunch of punches?
Yeah, like a bunch of flowers, but punches.
But they don't say a bunch of flowers.
Okay. Punch K of flowers, say a boo punch. I think that it cannot have a name because it's so secret, because you cannot advertise a business where it involves hitting somebody. The business card is basically blank.
So it's like
if you
the
know,
Fight
you know.
Club.
If you know, you know.
It's like the Fight Club.
We don't talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't understand why you're not supporting me on my business
I don't want you
ventures.
to get punched. I don't want to get punched a bunch.
Right.
All these men. But there it is.
Boo punch.
Boo punch. Well, Justina, thank you for being on the podcast as a guest.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm so sorry I was so cynical and negative.
You don't have to
I'll
apologize.
be back.
He's still not the
I'll
most
be back and I'll be
negative. He's not
positive
by far
and
the
happy.
most cynical person who's been on the podcast. I very rarely get to say this to guests, but I love you.
I've heard you say it to guests before. A lot, honestly. So I love you too, but I don't feel special.
Absurd, delightful. I hope you really enjoyed that, because she's super funny and it's fun, and I like that about her. Okay, what can I say? What can I say? I hope you enjoyed that. She mentioned TikTok there. Why don't you follow her on TikTok at Justina567? She's got some funny stuff on there. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at There It Is Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at There It Is. You can follow me on Twitter at JasonFarJokes and on Instagram at JasonFarPics. Also subscribe to our comedy lifestyle newsletter and support us if you can. We have a Patreon and a PayPal, and you can go to thereitispod.com for newsletter and support info. Links in bio. Until next time, be good to each other.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.